Problem is that God just simply has enough reasons to allow Auschwitz to obtain.
Great. So that
Period.
means, so what I'm
That's
asking
the
is,
answer.
I'm asking in any sense, by God's lights, is Auschwitz undesirable?
Yes, it is.
So now, in the sense,
it is undesirable.
right? So in the sense of undesirable here, at play here, right? It potentially rationalizes some action for God to stop it, right? So under what conditions does God do that?
Whenever whatever goods that come out of it
Under what conditions does God? Yeah. So what are the conditions under which God acts to stop Auschwitz?
Let's see here. The total eradication of everyone on the planet might be sufficient. But even then, we would just simply say something like, God's already intervened and sufficed for Auschwitz's evil through Christ on the cross. So we would say even with all of the evil that obtained by Auschwitz, it's already wrapped up.
No, it's not prevented.
But it doesn't have to be prevented. Because all of the evil that obtains doesn't actually obtain. Because there's nothing actually being obtained, there's something being lost. But everything that is lost has already been restored through Christ. So under the Christian worldview, the problem of Auschwitz is not one such that the metaphysics of the deprivation of good that we have obtaining, that's not the issue.
I don't think you're understanding the objection. So look, here's a way to think about it. Your
objection categorically doesn't hold any weight.
I know.
You're
like, I don't care. Look, I'm not interested in that opinion. I'm just interested in you addressing the argument. Right?
I addressed the
issue. I don't think you're tracking it. Look, I'm trying to explain it to you.
Let Jack ride.
So look, you understand what it means to say that the pain caused by a vaccine administered to a child, right, to protect him from disease. You understand that what it means to say that pain is undesirable on this construal is that given a way to bring about the good of protecting the child from disease without causing the pain, I would be required to do so, right? Now, I'm limited in my capacity to do that. What do you mean, why?
Why? Why are you required to do that?
That's what it means to say that it's a bad-making feature here, that it is an undesirable feature.
No, but you're just baking into your definition.
If you saw
but you're just,
a timeline where he learns from that pain.
Hold up, let Logi speak.
Jack, you're presuming and dumping into the term undesirable some moral act, but I don't hold that to be necessary. It's not necessary for things to be undesirable.
Look, I'm just saying that's what undesirable means in this context. If I say, look,
but if we're talking about a more nuanced conversation about definitions and what we mean by our terms, and someone's sitting here and says,
I don't care what you mean by the terms.
Well, then you don't care about the conversation, Jack. That's just what it gets down to.
Oh my God!
Find somebody that
oh my goodness! How are you guys? Listen, the definition is irrelevant. Hold on.
No, it's not.
But it's really not. Whenever you're presuming,
because if you conclude that God desires evil, then we don't agree with these terms, right? So I'm not going to.
I mean, how many times are we gonna listen to this?
Just hold on. Let him finish, because that's not. You guys don't even let him get to the point. You keep getting hung up on definitions.
So the issue is simply this, right? I'm interested in a concept of evil or badness, right? Where which is something like this, right? Causing pain to a child is bad, all else equal, right? Which is to say that everybody has reasons. Everybody has reasons to prevent children from experiencing pain, right? All else equal. Now, obviously, there could be conditions under which you might think, well, yeah, we do have reasons to prevent pain, but maybe sometimes there's some competing goods that outweigh the badness of the pain that would not be realized if we did act to prevent the pain, right? And so the vaccination case is a typical example of that, right? We might think, yeah, I shouldn't cause this child pain, but I should protect him from disease, right? And the only means that I have access to at the moment, where, in the location of space and time that I am, right, is a way of protecting him from disease that will cause him pain. So I weigh up the reasons. There are reasons that count in favor of protecting him from disease. There are reasons that count against causing him pain, right? And it may be that some pain is worth the price of protecting him from disease, and so the morally better action to undertake there is to administer the shot, even though it causes pain, because it will protect him from disease, and that's more important, right? Now, what I'm saying is that when we say, yes, it was the best thing to do there to administer the shot, right? But it's nonetheless undesirable that we cause the child pain, right? What I'm understanding that to mean in this context, right, is that were there a way to administer the vaccine, protect the child from disease without causing the pain, that would be the better course of action, right?
But it's not your place to say so, though. What if there's a timeline where that child learns from the pain? You will want to cause him pain, so he can.
Saying there's a fact of the matter about it. Whatever that fact is, right, what will lead to the greater good, right, is what is good.
Yeah, so the problem seems to be then that there isn't actually an objection here, right? Because then we would just simply say that any and all evil or future contingent evil events that obtain are simply just outweighed by the goods that they might bring about, and that's why God ordered it so, right? So I'm not sure where your objection is.
Objection is that there are no evils of the kind, right, where they could potentially rationalize an action for God to prefer the better outcome, right?
How are you defining it as better?
It's what
right,
well,
because if
it's going to be
everything,
what is more desirable by God's lights.
Okay, yeah, so God has already obtained and has set in motion, or however you want to parse out the divine fatalist / modalist / free will debate, however you want to define that out. God's will has already been that free will exists, and then because of his will for us to have free will, anything that is obtained by our free will is then counterweighed by Christ's redemption on the cross. So even if any future contingent event exists, there's not some sense of a greater metaphysical evil being done in our actual world. So you're just there's no objection here. There's no issue.
I'm telling you what the objection is, right? The
but
objection
it's not a true
is
objection.
In virtue of what?
Like you're just go ahead, redefine it. What is the objection?
The objection is, right, so take the vaccine case, right? So you might say, well,
I don't care about the vaccine case. Go ahead. Just state the objection.
Give an example.
Yeah, I'm using that example to illustrate.
No, I already know the example, right? So
no, I don't think you do.
It is better.
I don't think you understand the merit of it, right? The point is, God in virtue of being omnipotent, right, can administer the vaccine, can protect the child from disease, right, without having to cause any pain. The connection between the pain, right, and the good outcome, protecting the child from disease, right, the reason why that bad-making feature is something unavoidable for us is because we're not omnipotent. We don't have access to better technology, right? We're limited in space and time, right? We're constrained by natural law, right? We're constrained by limits on our knowledge, right? But God is not limited by those constraints, right? And so the question is, right, how is it then that there could be something that's undesirable by God's lights that could obtain, given that he's omnipotent? Does that make it any clearer?
That's very simple, man.
No, it really doesn't, because all you're really saying is God is omnipotent and omniscient, and yet evil still exists. That's your objection, but it doesn't really help in your clarification.
The logical
here.
problem of evil is,
but that's
right?
not,
It's saying that those two things are
incompatible. Fully solved by simply saying that God has some reason for allowing it. I could just say God has a reason for allowing that particular evil to obtain, and then the logical problem of evil is solved.
No.
So do you have something different, or
no?
It just takes the other horn.
So the
point is,
what is the other horn? The gratuitous evil?
Look, I framed it as a dilemma, right? The dilemma
but it's not a dilemema.
But it's,
do you
dilemma.
Do you understand? Do you understand what the purported dilemma? Jesus Christ! Do you understand what the purported?
I understand your purported
restate,
dilemma.
restate it if you understand.
Right. It is that God, being omnipotent and omniscient, has the ability to give some sort of good without the need for evil. Yeah, that's horn 1. Horn 2. We still see, in reality, that there exists the arisal of evil for the sake of these goods that God wants to obtain, and therefore God needs something undesirable to obtain in order to bring those about. That's the dilemma, yeah?
Not quite, no. So the dilemma was this, right? I was saying, because somebody who was here, and maybe is still here, was saying that, I think it was Sean, was saying that God permits evils to obtain for the sake of a greater good, right? And so the dilemma was this, right? The dilemma was, well, if it's the case that that greater good is something that's made possible by that evil, in what sense would it be undesirable to God, right? Because if it's necessary for bringing about that greater good, right, then it's in all things considered good. That's one horn of the dilemma.
Well, that's
The
just
other
not a
horn-
true definition,
No.
right? So
Okay,
you get back to definitions.
now we're back to
Can I
this
just- can I-
nonsense.
can I just-
That's